is most interested
Right.
in.
A couple of distinctions. With a conventional mortgage, as David said, there are minimum credit requirements and income requirements. In a reverse mortgage, you don't have that. There are no minimum income or credit requirements. So going back to the example of David's inquiry, she had bad credit because of a prior bankruptcy, but in this case, the reverse mortgage is just crying out there saying, take me, take me. And it would be the best situation for her, but I think she's might be influenced by family members because the family members are concerned that they may not obtain or receive their proper inheritance. Yeah.
Okay, so if we've discovered that a reverse mortgage is the right product, the right solution for them, it's fraught with other issues at times, and misrepresentation of various kinds is what we usually read. What are some of the pitfalls that people should be aware of once they decide that they do want to look at having a reverse mortgage?
I think I earlier referred to the amount of the closing costs. Also, as a little aside to this, Massachusetts has a program called HOME, which is Homeowners for Massachusetts Elders. Part of that program requires that they seek legal advice. Okay, they can't even close on the loan without having a lawyer present. And that would be part of the closing costs as well. So we have an obligation, regardless, to make sure it's in our client's best interest. Some of the pitfalls,
Well,
what are you going to use the money for?
Right.
Sometimes people may use the money for,
One of my bigger concerns is, let's suppose you have a line of, a stream of income now,
yeah,
and you have people who are influencing you, use the money for this, buy me that. That's an issue that you need to be concerned
An
about.
elder issue.
Right,
elder issue.
right. It's not so much the reverse mortgage issue, but making sure the money from the reverse mortgage is used correctly.
it's like having a checkbook with an unlimited amount of money in it, and it's available to the homeowner, and should the homeowner choose to use it for a family member? you know,
Right. And if it's used for the right purpose, it's not a pitfall, but you can, as Jackie explained, if you live for a long time, you can use up all the equity in your house.
But they can't toss you out. You are entitled to stay in that home.
Exactly,
That's
you're
right.
still in the home. I think another pitfall people have to realize is that the stream of income coming from the reverse mortgage may affect the individual's ability to continue to receive SSI benefits, which is supplemental security income, or Medicaid. So
Right.
these are public benefits. And just like any public benefit, if you have a certain amount of money in the bank, you're automatically disqualified. So if you've got that stream of income coming in, the money's left in the bank for a period of time, it will affect SSI and Medicaid. Won't affect Social Security or Medicare, but it will affect SSI and Medicaid. And
And
you
when-
need to make
when
sure the client
Medicaid-
understands
That's a good
that.
point,
Yeah.
John.
When Medicaid becomes relevant is when the person needs to go into a nursing home.
Exactly.
Because for most people going into a nursing home, ownership of a house won't disqualify you to go into a nursing home. But if you have income, that income's got to be applied towards a formula to determine what you can afford to pay before Medicaid will pay. Or if you have a lump sum of money, certainly that has to be spent before you can qualify for Medicaid.
This certainly is a very critical issue. So if someone is potentially in this situation, you as lawyers can help and
Yes.
direct this. Financial advisors as well?
Oh, financial advisor,
Sure.
sure, I mean,
Yep.
definitely.
And an institution itself, if it's ethical,
Right.
is required? Are they required to divulge this if someone's considering, I'm borderline Medicare, Medicaid? Are they
Well,
required
I
to
think
disclose
therein
this?
lies the counseling. The
Right.
purpose of the counseling is,
Right.
what do you need the money for? Not that there's restrictions, but they need to know what your financial situation is. Certainly, a financial advisor should know that if you're on SSI or Medicaid, it is going to affect your ability to continue to receive benefits.
And a bank, if the bank is the one who's been contacted first, should make enough inquiry to say, before you do anything, go talk to an attorney, an elder care attorney that knows the rules of Medicaid and so forth. Is always a good idea to consult before you consider doing a reverse mortgage.
What can you tell us about those who are doing some pretty devious things, such as investing in annuities rather than really giving people reverse mortgages? And how do you avoid someone getting involved in that kind of a situation? Can a lawyer prevent that from happening?
Unfortunately, we always see people when the toothpaste is out of the tube.
Right.
If we have a longtime client and we are continuing to consult with someone on an individual basis, then of course, yes, we can intervene and hopefully avoid that. But, if somebody needs income, rather than put them in an annuity at a particular age, it may not give them income. I mean, I'm not a financial advisor, but an annuity is...
It's very dangerous
difficult,
to
yeah.
take somebody in a vacuum. You need to look at the whole picture before you can give someone advice on whether or not they're better off doing a reverse mortgage, buying an annuity. It depends on the whole universe of their financial circumstances.
Yeah, and that's where it really should be necessary to have a financial advisor. And if they have those assets, then yeah, I mean, typically
Right.
we don't see people with that amount of estate or value of
The reverse
assets.
mortgage
Yeah.
typically,
If
not
people-
only, but typically would be used when it's your last asset and you can't make ends meet.
Now, talking about you giving someone advice and helping them, and you decided that a reverse mortgage is a viable thing for them, you as lawyers, if you were working and representing the person, would you help them find the right or 3 alternative institutions that might actually do that? What part do you play in this?
In the case,
Yes.
and I've had more than one case revolving reverse mortgages. I had another client who came to me who wanted to stay in her house for the rest of her life. She didn't care what it took. She didn't want to go to a nursing home. She wanted the money to create a stream of income so people could come into the house and take care of her. That's what she wanted. So what we would typically do is refer that person to a few, 2 or 3 different banks, and let them make sure they pick one that they're comfortable with.
Just one side note, I think people need to understand that in order to qualify for a first mortgage, that there is some minimum qualification. It has to be a principal resident. If it's a mobile home, it has to be affixed to a permanent foundation, and I
Right.
think the requirement is the mobile home has to be built after 1976, but it still has to serve as your primary residence. If it's investment property, it doesn't put you in a category to receive a reverse mortgage.
A quick anecdote that I can tell you, most of the time we hear that people have reverse mortgages because they need the money. How about if someone actually had 2 homes, one of those homes perhaps being on the Cape, suddenly becoming now their primary residence, they sell their first or initial residence, and it wasn't a matter of I'm financially strapped, but actually this is a much better alternative. So it isn't always a case where someone is in a problem with their finances, but actually might actually have this as a smart financial move. Usually we hear all of the stigma associated
Right.
with a reverse mortgage, but here was clearly a case where it was not.
It can be, but the problem with it is it's expensive. There might be more conventional
and
ways
foremost.
of getting money out.
Good to know. I think this is a good segue for us to think about elder care issues in general, and I think in the next segment, or perhaps 2, that will be the next of our topics. We thank attorneys Jackie Grasso and David Bizarre from ABCG for addressing this topic. And if you have questions, again, that email for Legal Matters is legalmatters@fullchanneltv.net. We have plenty more to talk about, and we thank you for watching. We hope you're feeling better informed these days about at least reverse mortgages. Please stay tuned as our discussion of legal matters will continue. I think the next thing